Welcome to the Marshall Pro Podcast, your weekend IndyCar listener Q&A coming out of the good old Portland International Raceway. A little bit of jamboree there in the Pacific Northwest. Speaking of jamming, I'm home for 48 hours, and those 48 hours are almost up. So leaving here in, about 10 hours. Very early. Wednesday morning coming up, heading down to Monterey. Going to be there for the rest of the week to cover the Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. So going to do a little bit of a condensed episode here, do about a half hour or so, and if there's a desire, can pick up the rest of the questions and do those early next week when I'm back before we head off to Milwaukee. So thank you as always for the great questions you have sent in to our pal Jerry Sudduth, who puts these together for us, and our partners at the Justice Brothers, that being justicebrothers.com, makers of mighty fine automotive chemicals, lubricants, and cleaners, and torontomotorsports.com, purveyors of just epically beautiful modern motor racing memorabilia, t-shirts, hats, books, stickers, models, F1, IndyCar, IMSA, you name it, torontomotorsports.com. So let's rock and roll. Let's get going right away. And like I said, try and get to more next week. And we're going to open up with our old pal, Jim Kaiser. Some haiku. This young Polo kid may turn out to be someone, he says, if we give him time. I would posit, my friend Mr. Kaiser, he's already someone. And he was someone before we knew him. So I think he's been someone for quite some time. Ken Anderson, you are up next. You're asking in a condensed fashion, is Alex Palou the best driver in the world? I would say he is not. And that's not because I don't believe he has the potential, just hard to use a sample of just IndyCar. So widely recognized for far longer than I've been alive, Formula One is indeed the place where the world's best fight and settle that score and provide that answer. So would say Alex has to be among the 2 or 3 best in the world, without a doubt. But hard to say he's number one without knowing whether he can knock down a Max Verstappen, a Oscar Piastri, and so on. Those who we have to look at right now and say, yeah, they certainly would have to be in the conversation as the current best in the world. But without a doubt, Alex has to be in that top 3, top 4. Also mentioning you're excited for the Cusick Motorsports announcement coming up later in this month. Yes, looking forward to that happening. Don's already shared all the news with me. So sitting on that and waiting for that information to come out here very shortly. And yes, excited indeed for us. Alec Christodoulou, how are you? Asking, did Palou have an unfair advantage this season, and will bad luck catch up to him in 2026? Interesting how you phrase this. Do you think something shady went on with Palou's car this season by winning that many races? That's always a fascinating approach to me, Alec, that if someone does exceedingly well, what's the thing they did that was a cheat or illegal? Instead of recognizing amazing talent from a driver and a team, I'll tell you, I am not down with this approach. This does not jive with me at all. So whether it was Joseph Newgarden destroying people, becoming a champion, Simon Pagenaud destroying people, becoming a champion, Scott Dixon, and so on, and others who I've seen do the same exact type of thing, he did have an unfair advantage himself. And Ricky Davis as his crew chief, and Julian Robertson as his race engineer, and Barry Wanzer as his race strategist and team manager. So, excellence, yes, that can be an unfair advantage, especially when it all converges and harmonizes in the way that we've seen this year, and last year, and the year before, and in 2021. So we're witnessing historical greatness. Let's remove any nonsense and coming at this from some sort of angle that does not respect what they've achieved. It's when you have somebody or a team that is not known for excellence doing something out of nowhere. Totally get going, all right, that should not be happening with them. We're talking about a 3-time champ just becoming a 4-time champ and frankly hitting his stride, and should be scaring the living daylights out of people about what is on the horizon. Lynn, say, how awkward was the press conference for Will Power after winning Portland? Yeah, it's a lot of folks trying to ask the same question over and over again in different ways to see if they could get the answer that he wasn't providing the first time and second time and so on about next year and where's he going and etc. And then they brought in new Team Penske president Jonathan Duguid to sit with him, and more of the questions came in that direction, posed to Jonathan and so on. The same question Will's been asked in recent days and weeks and more. And yeah, sometimes folks have the presence of mind to realize that this is something really nice for somebody who might not be sitting here again, right? Even if he stays with Team Penske, there's no guarantee Will has another race win in his future, right? No guarantee for anybody. I'm not saying it's the media's job to think about being nice and preserving this moment for a driver. Of course, you've got your job to do. It did, though, to your point, just feel a little over the top, where it was like, okay, are we now on attempt number 4 or with Duguid number 5? I've kind of lost track. And you heard Will's response, including the F word in one of them, where I think folks kind of got the message that, like, hey, I feel like we've beaten this question to death. So, and I just laughed out loud when I heard him answer the way that he did there. So, yeah, again, it's not the media's job to try and think of beautiful moments to preserve them for people. It did just seem like the guy made it pretty darn clear that was not a path of questioning that was going to give anybody what they were looking for, but that didn't deter anybody from trying over and over again. Merle Lewis, say, so the biggest silly season question is, does Penske cut loose Power? They're only driver in the top 10 in points, the only one with a win. Does any part of that not seem crazy a year ago? It seems crazy today, Merle. Wrote as such in the opening answer to this week's Racer Mailbag, due out Wednesday morning on racer.com. Tell you, had a had a comment given to me by someone. This wasn't on the record. This was a conversation between myself and someone else after his victory, and was just sharing a little bit of insight, shared a statistic that it had been, I forget how many years, 40 plus years since Penske hired a driver with 0 poles and 0 wins, and was just mentioning how, boy, it sure would break Penske's trend of waiting for a driver to prove they're capable, earning a pole, earning victories before hiring them. And I realize Scott McLaughlin, for example, is a outlier in theory on that, right? Came to IndyCar with no open wheel experience. Get that. Was a Team Penske driver, though, for many years and won many championships for Penske down under. So new to the type of car, not new to being a umpteen time race winner and champion many times over. The concept of bringing in somebody in the discipline with 0 wins, 0 poles, as fully expect to happen with David Malukas, just mentioning that, this isn't something that the team has traditionally done. They've decided to wait to make sure someone's ready to win, already a winner, been through, call it University of IndyCar, and is just ready to go straight to the top. And just say the response I got was one that made me sad and made me fully acknowledge, change is going to happen. So none of that's official. There was no secret, here's the real answer of what's going on and when. None of that. This is just me taking a response to something I said, which wasn't said to try and get a secret answer, but it just came out in a way where I was like, oh, okay. There we go. So, makes no sense to me. You aren't cutting the lowest performing person on the roster. You are saying farewell to the highest performing person on the roster. The one with 45 wins now and 71 poles. All I can say is I really and truly hope it works out for them, because if not, this is going to be, this is going to be one that folks look back at and go, okay, we were looking for the thing that made sense in the decision and couldn't find it, but went on faith that this was what needed to happen. And so for everybody, I hope everything works out in all kinds of positive ways. Also wrote in last week's silly season piece that provided Will wants to do such a thing, and I don't know if he does, the team that wants him more than most is RLL. No doubt about that. Just don't know if that is a place he'd want to go, and that's not speaking critically of RLL. It is acknowledging, though, that the driver in one of the top 2 or 3 teams, race-winning teams, race-winning experiences, going to a Tier 2 program that is trying to win, trying to get up there towards the front. I'm not saying earning a single victory or maybe 2 victories is impossible, but the reality is you stop being that front-running contender based on what we have seen in recent history. Felix Rosenqvist winning for Chip Ganassi 2019, choosing to leave, go to Arrow McLaren, now at Meyershank Racing, and had some really good results. Hasn't been necessarily a continuation of that momentum he had at MS or at Chip Ganassi. You had Alexander Rossi winning a bunch of races, being the man at Andretti Autosport, now Andretti Global. Ended up going to Arrow McLaren, no victories there. Now at Ed Carpenter Racing. We can cite some other examples. Simon Pagenaud, Helio Castroneves obviously won big time at the Indy 500, so that's amazing. But after that, no victories. So just sharing the leaving of Penske for an RLL. It'd be great for RLL. It'd potentially be great for Will. They're to offer him a 2-3 year long contract, give him plenty of time, obviously be earning a good salary, but levels to this. And when you're intentionally taking a step down a level, even with a team that's doing better and on the rise, that can be a really hard thing on one's spirit, on one's everything else. When you're doing that at the age of 44, 45, and you know the clock is ticking on the end of your career, it's tough. So, we'll see where we end up here in a couple weeks. Donna Lacagnina, thank you for sending in a question. Asks, could there possibly be another reason other than Will Power's age for Team Penske to not want to offer him a new contract? Something like not getting along with teammates, being too critical of the team, etc. Not that I'm aware of. His teammates were some of the first folks to come congratulate him in victory lane. Would say since he signed this contract, he's had the same teammates, the same everything, and I can't recall him speaking out in some sort of critical way about Team Penske or otherwise, something that would have stood out as, oh boy, bad. I mean, if I'm thinking about how things went down last year with that push to pass controversy, Will Power was not part of it. Thinking of this year with the attenuator stuff, I mean, yeah, he's, to my knowledge, been pretty darn clean and a team first person, but I don't know. I don't know if there's just a belief internally that, hey, we haven't been as competitive as we want to be. This is just me thinking a little laterally here. And this team won the championship in 2022 with Will. Best driver last year for the team, was second for a lot of the season. Call it second best to Alex Palou, and was second coming into the season finale. Had that silly seatbelt malfunction that forced him to pit, ended up going laps down, finished fourth in the championship or whatever it was. But he was their best driver all year long, results-wise, and has been the same this year. I do wonder if they're looking at Newgarden, looking at McLaughlin, who heard from two good folks last weekend who say that he has signed a nice long extension very recently. Part of me wonders if there's some sort of like, hey, realize we won a championship a couple years ago, but this Ganassi team has won 5 out of the last 6. And we've been runner-up other years or similar, but maybe we just need to do a significant reboot, and maybe we just want to try a different approach and go with someone else. I'm not saying there's anything scientific in that. There's nothing statistically to say, oh yeah, clearly, time has passed, gotta go. But teams have made changes for less significant reasons. So I can't think of anything that would fit the, can't stand the guy saying stuff, whatever. I've heard another theory about why this change might be happening. I need to ask some questions before I present it. But yeah, there is something that does not fit here for me. If I'm just using all my years in racing and trying to think of ways where you go, yep, let's take your number one earner off of the floor and bring in someone with great potential, but who's never earned a thing by comparison. We know, let's say for whatever reason they decide to keep Will for one more year and he wants to stay. We know David Malukas is going to be driving that car. As I've said 1,000 times, he's signed to Penske. I know they like to present it otherwise, but right, we know he's going up. He's going to be driving for Team Penske. That is in the kid's immediate future. If that were to be 2027 instead of 2026, got it. It's 2026, got it. It's going to happen. If it's going to happen, the thing we're just struggle here to find the thing that you go, aha, is timing, right? You make a change when you go, hey, this person's ready. This isn't a midfield team taking a flyer on somebody who can maybe improve their fortunes. This is one of the 2 greatest IndyCar teams ever, won more races than any other team. Now with Ganassi winning their 17th championship, they're tied. But when you look at Indy 500 wins plus overall wins, there is no team greater in the zillion-year history of IndyCar than Team Penske. So there's reasons behind that. This isn't a team that historically has taken a lot of flyers, has brought people up who've shown great potential, immense potential, but has yet to earn a single pole position or win. Hey, we're going to 2 tracks, Milwaukee and Nashville. David could be on pole for both and win both. So before the end of the season, the kid could show us, yes, I'm that guy. Put me in that 12 Chevy right now. And it would be impossible to argue against it. At least as of today, August 12th, 2025, leaving Portland, currently at 0-0. Joseph had, I think, at least 1 pole and 3 wins, had finished 4th in the championship in 2016 with Ed Carpenter Racing, by no means as big, well-funded, or as deep as a Penske or Ganassi or Andretti back then, but finished 4th, right? That was the clear sign. Multiple victories, pole winner, and right up there in the championship. Hire him now. They did. Guy shows up, first year, champion, 2017. Dixon got the title in 2018. What does Joseph do in 2019? Championship again. And you go, yep, that's a perfect move. Timeliness, readiness. This, to me, is a case where I think we all look at little Dave now becoming more like big, full adult Dave and go, this guy has shown indicators that he is special. Qualifying in particular, he has been very impressive this year. Just coming back to the same point of traditionally, if it's a newer talent, younger talent, we've seen Penske wait for that talent to show not just potential, but a fact. That potential can be turned into poles and wins, and the one getting that contract and being drafted up into the top echelon of IndyCar, this person's ready to go. All we have to do is take them from the team they're currently at, put them into our team, and we get someone who's going to go win a bunch of races for us and very likely become a champion. I look at David and say, I believe all those things are possible. I think he can be those things, but we haven't seen evidence of it with the actual results. So that's the thing that, just to close, if Penske is indeed going to make this change now, it would be very much of an outlier for them. Going back to Kevin Coogan in whatever year that was, 82, 83, 80, I forget exactly what year. But the hired with Ofer and Ofer. So if that were to change at Milwaukee or Nashville, then hey, cool. It's been shown. Hard to argue against making that change if you're using that high standard of readiness, timeliness of this as well, and saying, okay. But if those things don't happen, then for me at least, we're left going, why? What's the rush? Why would this happen now when you have not indeed shown that you can indeed be that person to deliver all the way? So, interesting times ahead. Sean Oakwood, how you doing, Shauna? Says, little Dave sported the blue Gallagher livery we usually see in Scotty Mac's car, sharing sponsorship part of the Foyt Technical Alliance. It seemed to be more of a confirmation David has a Penske contract. Again, I'll just mention, I've lost track how many times I've said the guy's signed to Penske. Yeah, I mean, the Clariance Technologies, which came on in May, I mean, they've been on Joseph's car, and if they've been on other Penske cars, I apologize for not noticing, but they've been on the spine of Joseph's engine cover for a year or two now, maybe longer. So this indeed was a Penske sponsor that came over, and yeah, Gallagher came in with Carlin, and then became a Penske sponsor when Carlin left. And yeah, this is Penske paying for the car, where they're helping to develop Davey. So, smart. But yeah, I hope there's been no confusion about what this is all year. She also says, with Penske leaving GTP and IMSA next year, could they consider bringing back the fourth car so we could have David and Will together at Penske? Mentioning best wishes to everyone here at home. Thank you. I wasn't aware that Penske was leaving GTP at the end of next year. I know for sure that there's pretty strong possibility that Porsche might look to convert its current factory team into full customer racing. That's the strong suggestion that's been going around for most of this year. But I would say I'm unaware of that being a fact. So not totally saying that this isn't something that will happen, just saying that I would not present this as being a fact because I've done a lot of asking and tried to be a little bit of a pest here, and we'll see indeed where this ends up. Hope it doesn't happen, but would also say that if there were to be a change in Porsche and Penske working together as a factory program, would also say that that would not necessarily mean Penske's out of IMSA and GTP, or WEC and Hypercar, and there could indeed be another manufacturer stepping into the breach. Let's see, where else do we go here as we kind of sort of wind down on this short episode? Justice Thomas, what are your thoughts on Townsend Bell suggesting that Scotty McLaughlin is going to be shipped off to NASCAR so Penske could retain power and promote David Malukas? Seems like a pretty wild and counterproductive thing for a commentator to say on air. Well, keep in mind, commentator is not a reporter. Say things, you got ideas, you speculate, and I don't know if anyone in a sports broadcast is being held to any kind of journalistic standard. So I would say that I would hate that for Scott, unless it's something that he wanted, simply because he's been in contention for an IndyCar championship, top 3, top 4, something along those lines, and mentioned that expected him to be the top guy this year, and it has gone terribly for him. And so for someone who has found a huge passion for competing in IndyCar, shown that he can be one of the absolute best, pole position, Indianapolis 500, race winner, championship contender, to then have the worst season of his career in year 5 or whatever this is for him, to leave on that, I don't know if that's something that I would want for him or he would want for him, knowing how brutally competitive he is. Sorry, my face is starting to forget words. Knowing how brutally competitive he is, I think he would bristle at the idea of leaving, heading off to NASCAR on the tail end of what's been just a very uncharacteristic IndyCar season for him, and I would say unrepresentative of who he is and has been in IndyCar. So if Townsend knows something I don't, then, that wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, given the option, my brain says this is something that he would want to be back in IndyCar and indeed go and become a title contending guy again and possibly get that done before moving on. So, yeah. Raymond Wong says, is Callum Ilott a late season bloomer? Says he struggled early in the year, but kept plugging along and turned it around with another low-key top 10 finish. I would not position good old Callum Ilott as a late season bloomer. I would position his Prema Racing team, which is brand new to IndyCar, as showing they're pretty darn good here late in their first season. So last weekend was a really strong strategery move that helped fire him forward to a sixth place finish. That's 2 sixth places in a row. I forget what it was. I think, what do you have, 8th before that or a 10th? Whatever it is, it's like a couple really good finishes in a row. But, I mean, you could put Callum in a Ganassi whichever car to start the season, and he'd be running right up front. So, wouldn't put it on him, Raymond. Would just say, hey, this team, with so much to learn in its first season, are showing that they are really darn good. Got 2 more questions here in the group 1 put together by Jerry. So I know we're just a little bit past a half hour, but let me finish that group. And then, maybe we can pick up on the others. And it seems like a lot of the second tier are Rasmussen Daly. Mike Kristoff say it was great to see Graham Rahal and Rossi get into the top 5. Seems like both of their teams pulled everything together. Do you think these are signs of the organizations they've been working up to these results and continue to flourish, as opposed to fluky strategy calls that put them there? When I think of the fluky stuff, Mike, it's more of you were nowhere, but then a caution came out and boom, you were transported to an amazing finish. They decided to pit right away in that first caution. I think only 5 cars did or something like that, but they did what you should do, right? Not necessarily the world's best qualifying. And if we just stay out and do as everyone else does, we're indeed going to finish more or less where we started. So this, to me, not being a fluke, this is the smart thing, the intentional thing you do to try and improve your fortunes. So part of the teams getting better and showing that they're improving is stuff like this, right? Hey, Graham had a terrible qualifying, right? 22nd, I think, out of 27 cars. So clearly they were missing many steps on Saturday and found, let me rephrase that, qualifying, found a little bit more, right, in the warm-up. And by the time race day came around, pretty good place. Lots of potential there. And so they did exactly what they should do. And that, to me, is a hallmark of a team showing like, hey, it's not just the engineering side and which tire compound to use, but we're also sharpening on race strategy and not outsmarting ourselves, not trying to do desperate things, but like, hey, why don't we try something to improve our fortunes? And guess what? It did indeed happen as we were hoping it would do. So that's why I wouldn't drop that into a fluke type scenario, because there was intent behind this. So look, the Ed Carpenter Racing team is better and faster. Christian Rasmussen of late has been the one to show a high level of competitiveness, and good old Alexander Rossi has never been anything other than capable of doing that same exact thing. Just been a little bit harder to get to the finish line in positions that have shown that at the same rate. But here indeed, I love seeing what they're doing here. And yeah, both organizations seem like they're in places that, compared to a year ago, I love where they're at. They're showing progress. And yeah, with a few more moves here, I think both of them could indeed be definitely farther up in the results next year. Matthew Summers. I'm glad Nolan Siegel is getting another year at McLaren. I think he may have come to IndyCar a little too early. Safe to say the team expectations will be higher next year. Any thoughts on what those expectations are? A year where He is running closer to a Pato / Lundgaard, and I know that might sound obvious, but this is the last year where not running close to them on a regular basis would be something that can be explained away due to youth and inexperience. Now, that is harsh. He does not have a lot of IndyCar experience. If you take the, roughly half season he did last year, and then you take what he's done this year, he's done, a little more than a full IndyCar season. Normally takes 2 to 3. The thing that I think I know is contractually, end of next year is where a strong decision would be made as to whether he would stay or not stay. And so, in a perfect world, we would be talking about end of 2027, where a decision on Nolan's future with McLaren would become a serious conversation. As I understand it, it's the end of next year. So what needs to be shown is some sort of, yes, this kid has got something very, very serious, and it's being demonstrated in a year-to-year leap that makes them say, we got to hold on to this kid. The reason being is not so much, Nolan, you've got to show us a bunch in order to hold on to the seat because we're just going to be very harsh judgers of talent. It's because at the end of 2026, unless some of these availabilities get locked down beforehand and some of the drivers are taken off the board, you've got 1 or 2 at Andretti, one of them being good old Kyle Kirkwood, a.k.a. Kirkwood. Very seriously potentially available. I can't believe Andretti Global would let him become a free agent unless he wants to leave and declines an offer, but that sure seems like somebody you would completely hold on to. Rinus VeeKay can be a free agent at the end of the year. I hope he stays because I can't think of any other team that's better for him to go to at the moment. Christian Rasmussen, everyone's current favorite driver within the paddock, would be available at the end of next year, I believe. I'm just trying to run through the list here. Potentially Marcus Armstrong, who is looking like that dude is pretty damn serious. I don't pretend to know the duration of Callum's contract or Roberts, but a 2-year, who knows if it's longer, but could one of them or both of them be available, etc., right? There's going to be some sufficiently decent talent that can be acquired. And so with all that said, McLaren is not looking to run 3 cars just to have a couple extra cars. They're in a position where at the end of next season, I am pretty confident in saying they're looking for a 3-headed monster. They want it coming out of this season. They want it right now. They want it next year. I can just tell you. 2 front-running cars with Pato and Lundgaard, and not so much with the third, even if the driver is very young and inexperienced. Knowing the potential talent that can be put into that third car, it's that which is going to be very serious pressure for Nolan to have to perform. I'd say unfairly, just because needs another year, but with all that said, I hope we see that tinge of really special that he has shown us from time to time. I hope that becomes a more regular thing, and who wouldn't love to see kid earning it and showing the team, hey, you'd be silly to hire anybody else but me. So yeah, excited for the possibility of what's happening, but do not believe for a moment if next season gets off to a not so amazing start, this is a team that already has every imaginable driver. Linus Lundqvist, haven't even mentioned Linus, knocking, saying, put me in that car. I'll go get you some wins right now. And if it is not looking like that is where things are trending by whatever the exact time frame is, end of May, end of June, like, this is not a team that needs to wait for a long time and then hope somebody good might want to drive for them. They're going to have top pick of seemingly anybody who could hop right in and do amazing things. All right, y'all. Slightly missed the half-hour window, but what else is new? Appreciate y'all for all the questions you sent in, to our good pal Jerry Sudduth for putting all them together. Looking forward to the Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. We'll be posting as much as I can, mostly of the video variety. Of late, when we're talking video, I tend to go to Instagram first. So check out my Marshall.Pruitt IG account. And this is just acknowledging my idiocy. I often forget to post the same thing on my good old Twitter/X account. So that's just straight up at Marshall Pruitt. But yeah, pay attention there if you want to see some fun and interesting videos. Could be a little bit of fun IndyCar intersections with a couple people who are going to be there, and hopefully cranking out lots of other content for your video enjoyment. Big thanks to the Justice Brothers and to TorontoMotorsports.com, and I'll speak to y'all next week.